Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2021 Russian Grand Prix, everyone's favourite race of the year. Look, all jokes aside, it is a race weekend, so I'm very, very happy, but I'm not going to pretend that this is one of the tracks I get super excited about when I look at that calendar. That said, there are a few curveballs set to be thrown into the mix that could spice the weekend up very nicely indeed, but more on all of that a little bit later in the video. But let's kick things off with a look at the usual round of track stats. So last time out, we were at the magnificent Monza to round off another triple header. And after a short break, it is on to Sochi for round 15 of the World Championship and for, as it stands, the penultimate time before the Russian Grand Prix moves to the Igora Drive, let me know on pronunciation, which is nearish to the city of St. Petersburg. But a lap of the Sochi Autodrom runs for a total of 5.848 kilometres, that is, if you prefer, 3.634 miles, and is made up of 18 corners, that is 6 to the left and 12 to the right. And come Sunday, we should, all being well, see a total of 53 racing laps. As usual, there are 2 DRS zones available to aid with overtaking. So the first runs between the exit of the kink that is turn 1 down to the first braking zone, which, to be honest, I see as the real turn 1. But anyway, and the second runs between turns 10 and 13 with the detection points for each zone just before turns 1 and 10 respectively. The race lap record is a 1:35.761, and that was set by Lewis Hamilton in 2019, but the fastest ever lap of the circuit came last year during qualifying, again set by Hamilton, and that was a pole time of a 1:31.304. And while we're on the subject of last year, although he started on pole, Hamilton couldn't convert that into victory due to penalties for completing practice starts outside of the designated areas, which meant teammate Valtteri Bottas was able to claim victory, leading home Max Verstappen. It was Lewis Hamilton who recovered to take the final step on the podium. And that win for Bottas, by the way, was the last win for him at Mercedes to date. And although he will very much be expected to play the number 2 role for the rest of this season, I really hope he gets a chance to grab at least one more win before he moves on to Alfa Romeo for 2022. It'd be a nice way to round off his Mercedes career. Moving on, it is tyre time. Hell yeah. Thanks to the fact that Sochi is usually pretty low on tyre stress and degradation, the compounds available for this weekend are the softest in the Pirelli range, and they are the hard C3, the medium C4, and the soft C5. The most demanding corner for the tyres is perhaps unsurprisingly that long multi-apex left-hander that is turn 3. If it stays dry, though, it should be a one-stopper, and that was the case in 2020 with Bottas going from the medium C4s to the hard C3s. However, as always, safety cars could play their part if called and could mix up the strategy a bit. And there has been at least one safety car period during 6 of the 7 races held at Sochi so far. So there's a strong chance we'll see one this weekend. But it is not just the safety car that could mix things up. Rain is forecast for the event, and there is a chance that most of the sessions will be affected by it at some stage. Now, time of recording, the forecast is saying that we could see sunshine and showers for both FP1 and FP2 on Friday, with temperatures set to hit highs of 19 degrees. It is a similar story on Saturday, but with the chance of rain for FP3 and qualifying much higher at 68% for the third practice session and 98% for quali. That risk does reduce on Sunday, but showers are still forecast, but the chance of them hitting the track for the race are mixed, with some claiming it could be as low as 26% and others saying it could be as high as 90%. Either way, rain is likely to affect the weekend's running at some stage, but as ever, there is still plenty of time for that to change between now and the weekend, now, by the way, being Wednesday afternoon. Although it must be said, photos and videos are emerging on social media from F2 teams showing flooding in the paddock. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't get to Spa levels of disruption. And before we move on, it's time for a look at the schedule for the Russian Grand Prix, and is back to the normal weekend format following sprint at Monza. So FP1 will kick the weekend off from 9:30 AM BST, with FP2 getting underway at 1 PM. FP3 on Saturday will run from 10 AM to 11 AM, with qualifying getting going from 1 PM, and it will be lights out for the race on Sunday from 1 PM UK time, so a little bit earlier than the usual European races. Still to come, I'll go over some fast facts, run through some driver form, and make my usual round of predictions, but first there are a couple of things worth a mention, or a reminder I guess, going into this weekend. First up, Max Verstappen will be heading to Russia with a 3-place grid penalty hanging over him after the stewards deemed that he was, quote, predominantly to blame for the incident with Lewis Hamilton at Monza. That has led to some speculation that Red Bull could give Verstappen a new engine at Sochi and therefore take all of those penalties together. But Helmut Marko told RTL that the team doesn't have to make the change this weekend, so they will wait to see how things pan out in qualifying and what the weather does before making a final decision on whether or not to give him a new Honda unit. A Honda power unit, by the way, that has been running an upgraded energy source since Belgium on Verstappen's car. That's something that was confirmed earlier this week, and it is now in place on both of the Red Bulls, and it is understood to be in Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri as well. And Kimi Raikkonen will return to his Alfa Romeo cockpit for this weekend, having missed the last two events after testing positive for COVID-19 and so therefore having to self-isolate. Kimi took to Instagram to confirm the news in a long statement that said, quote, "I am all good, see you at the next Grand Prix." Yeah, that really was it, but great news that he's okay and will be back racing again in Sochi. And just a reminder, only up to 8 races left of his F1 career, of course, including this weekend. Right then, let's have a look at some fast facts courtesy, as always, of Lights Out blog. The Russian Grand Prix made its debut on the F1 calendar in 2014, and so we have seen a total of 7 races in Sochi over the years. There have only been, therefore, 3 different winners, with Lewis Hamilton claiming 4 victories, Valtteri Bottas 2 and Nico Rosberg 1. That obviously means that Mercedes is the only team to win at Sochi, but Ferrari stopped them taking pole at every race, with Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc managing to start from P1 in 2017 and 2019 respectively. 117 of the 142 cars to make the start in Sochi have gone on to finish the race, giving the track an overall finish rate of 82%. The more you know. And Vitaly Petrov became Russia's first ever F1 driver back in 2010 and was followed by Daniel Kvyat, Sergei Sorokin, and I suppose you could say technically Nikita Mazepin, who, yes, is on this previous thumbnail because it is still his home Grand Prix despite not racing under the Russian flag. And yes, I'm preempting any questions about that in the comment section. Anyway, enough about that. Time to take a look at some driver form. As always, I've picked out 5 at random with a maximum of 1 driver for each team, starting with Fernando Alonso, who has 5 appearances at Sochi under his belt, with his last race at the track being back in 2018, and his form is very mixed. He picked up P6 on his debut in 2014 and took the same result in 2016. However, they are the only races he managed to score at, with his best finish otherwise being 11th in 2015 for McLaren. The Spaniard has finished every race he has started at the track, but failed to make the start in 2017 when his McLaren broke down on the formation lap. Valtteri Bottas is, I think it's fair to say, probably a big fan of the Sochi Autodrom. He finished P3 for Williams at his first appearance at the track and took 4th in 2016, although did fail to finish the year before. However, that is to date his only DNF at the circuit, and he has never failed to make it onto the podium since joining Mercedes, winning twice and taking 2 second places along the way. His first ever win also came at the track, and that was in only his 4th race with Mercedes in 2017. Carlos Sainz debuted at the circuit in 2015 for Toro Rosso, where he failed to finish following a brake issue. Of course, that was the year that he had that huge crash during practice. The Spaniard failed to score in 2016 and 2018 and DNF'd last year, so his best result is a 6th place finish, which he picked up for McLaren in 2019, one of only 2 occasions he scored points at the track. Sainz has qualified P6 in each of the last 2 seasons and has only been out-qualified by a teammate once, and that is if we ignore the 2015 session where he didn't take part due to that massive crash. Sergio Perez has scored at every single Russian Grand Prix he has started, including taking P3 for Force India in 2015, and managed to claim 4th place at the event last season as well. Those results aside, his best other finish is 6th place, which he picked up in 2017. When it comes to qualifying, though, his best result is 4th, and he has not been out-qualified by a teammate at the track since Nico Hülkenberg pipped him to 6th on the grid in 2015 by just over 0.03 of a second. And Lance Stroll has never picked up a top 10 finish at the track, with his best result being P11, which he achieved twice, once in 2017 and again in 2019. He failed to finish at the circuit last season, having been spun round by Charles Leclerc on the opening lap of the race. Totally irrelevant point right now, but I still can't believe that wasn't a penalty for Leclerc. Anyway, one of those first lap incidents, I guess, according to the stewards. The Canadian has also never reached Q3 with a best qualifying result of 12th place and has yet to out-qualify a teammate at Sochi. Here we go then, time for me to make my usual round of predictions many of you will inevitably and, frankly, understandably disagree with. So if you do disagree, then you can let me know your picks in the comment section down below. Right then, this is a Mercedes track. There is no getting away from that. As already covered, they've won every single race in Russia and have only failed to take pole position twice. And when you factor in Max Verstappen's grid drop and any potential power unit change, it is hard to bet against them again this year. But a couple of things worth noting. Firstly, due to the long run to the first chicane, pole isn't always the best place to start, weirdly. As we saw last year, for example, Valtteri Bottas was able to slipstream his teammate down to that first braking zone and almost got past him. In 2019, Sebastian Vettel went from P3 to P1, and in 2017, Bottas managed to do the same. It's all about that toe. And so, therefore, secondly, if Verstappen manages to, say, take P1 on Saturday, he will end up starting P4, and so he might prefer to start there rather than take any engine penalties and end up at the back. All of that said, I fancy Bottas for pole on Saturday and probably a Mercedes front row lockout as well. Why Bottas? Well, as I said earlier, this is one of his strongest tracks, so why not? He also had a great weekend in Monza. Plus, pressure's kind of off him now, isn't it? So go out there and have fun, Valtteri. I think Verstappen will qualify third, and so that will put him 6th on the grid, and maybe he will then choose to take a fresh power unit, but either way, do not rule him out, because it is more than possible to overtake at Sochi, as his former teammate Alex Albon showed in 2019, finishing 5th, having started from the pit lane. I will, though, go with Hamilton for the win, because even if he doesn't slipstream Bottas to that first chicane, Finn will be asked at some point to let him through. That's pretty much a guarantee. So I am going for a Mercedes 1-2 with Verstappen P3 if he doesn't take any penalties. Actually, thinking about it, even if he does take penalties, I'm going to say P3 as well, because I'm going to assume that Sergio Perez will be up there this weekend given his decent form at the track, and so he will absolutely be asked to let Max through as well, assuming of course he doesn't get there on his own. Teammates and team orders could be absolutely critical for the rest of this season. In behind the top two teams, I once again think McLaren will be the best of the rest, although perhaps not as close to the top two teams as they were at Monza. What a weekend for them. But it's got to be said, both Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo could be there to pick up a podium if those ahead start tripping over each other. So definitely keep an eye on those two. But with the slower 90 left, 90 right corners that there are around Sochi, Ferrari should, in theory at least, be much closer and much more of a threat than they were at Monza. My one to watch, I've got to go with Max Verstappen because whatever happens, he's going to have to do some overtaking if he wants to challenge for the win. I must add actually as well that although the track does tend to favour Mercedes car philosophy, those slower corners I just mentioned could easily bring Red Bull right back into play. It is going to be a fascinating weekend once again. I can't wait, and this is such a bloody good season. That is it, though, for the Russian Grand Prix preview, but you can, as always, let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comment section down below. So, as per usual, who do you think will take pole on Saturday? Who do you think will win the race? And who are you keeping a very close eye on? Now, I will be back soon with another video, but don't forget to join us live shortly after the race finishes on Sunday for the usual race reaction. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really helps to give the channel a little bit of a boost. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.